Me, a weekly look at the events and issues for Racine. Now, here is your host from CBS 58 News, Jennifer Tomazik.
Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Jennifer Tomazik. Well, when some students head back to school this year, they're going to be returning with some great new skills that they got over the summer. Here to tell us about the E3 program within the Racine County Workforce Development Center is Mark Mundell. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Jennifer. Thank you for having me.
So E3, it's your summer youth employment program. Tell me, what is E3 exactly?
E3 is Employ, Enrich, and Engage. It was created by some youth 3 years ago. We asked them, we had a summer youth employment program, which is, I think, kind of wordy, and they were asked to come up with a name and a logo for it, and we've stuck with that name and logo for the last 3 years.
Okay, so tell me about this program. You said it started a few years ago?
It was a result of the Recovery Act, the stimulus package, and that gave us the opportunity to do summer employment activities in Racine County for the first time in a number of years. And it has been so successful that the community has continued it post-stimulus funding.
Now, were you seeing youth between 16 and 24, which is the age for this program, were you seeing them come into the Racine County Workforce Development Center prior to this?
Well, they come in kind of a loose area. They're not fully engaged at that point in their life. They're not coming directly to us as much as we would like for services. But we think when we give them a reason to come there, a employment opportunity, a job, that they come in droves. This year, 500 applied for the opportunity to be in a program that had about 120 participants.
500, you had to whittle that down to 120.
That's correct.
What is some of the criteria that you're looking for in these students to make them part of this program?
Well, we look for their ability to present themselves in a way that is acceptable in an employment situation, to engage in a conversation, and a willingness to work. And, you know, work skills are something that are learned. They're not something you're born with. So we have to look for there's some rough edges, and we have to put some polish on that. But if they're willing to try and willing to present and engage, they're going to succeed.
And what are some of the tools that you give them? I know the program, it's 6 weeks long, is that right?
That is correct.
And so what is the first week all about?
First week is getting them ready to work. Again, as I said, you don't come to the world of work knowing how to do it. You may have some parents at home that have shown some of this, but your first time in a job, you're a rookie and you're learning. So we go through 5 days of basic employment skills. And this year we base that around 5 A's: appearance, attitude, adaptability, accountability, and trying to forget the fifth one right now, attendance. Attendance being a really critical one, because if you're not there to do the job, you're not being valuable to any employer.
And this is something that we were talking earlier about, that you're pretty strict with the youth that are in this program about having to adhere to these attendance.
That is correct. Most of the youth that didn't finish the program did not finish it because of attendance problems. They had 1 day of absence during the 6-week period, and if they were late or absent a second day, that was it. They were dismissed.
And that's part of life lessons too.
That is correct. That's the accountability.
Right, exactly. You learn those skills, but you also have to learn to be on time for things. And you kind of had a funny story about one of the things that you told the kids, one of the students, for the first day of their work.
Oh yeah, this is a great one. First day is getting, moving out of the classroom and into the real work situation. And it's always, we have to get the kids from one place to 36 places in the community, and are they all going to show up on time? So I get a call about 5 minutes to 8. And it's, Mr. Mundell, my employer isn't here. What do I do? I said, oh, well, I said, just go back, and if you have the problem 10 minutes from now, if the employer isn't there, give me a call back. I knew who the employer was. They're kind of more of a laid-back type shop, and they showed up at about 2 to 8, and he was very happy, and the employer was really happy. They said, send me 10 more of this type of guy. And I said, I don't have 10 more, but I'd love to.
And what type of employers work with you on this?
We kind of the same thing as the entire community. We have nonprofits, we have a couple of government, we have some healthcare, we have restaurant, we have manufacturing. So it's a wide range of work, just like there is in the Racine community.
Now, did you have to go out and try to recruit these businesses, or were these some that may have seen the type of work you guys had done in the past and wanted to jump on board?
Yes and yes. We have to recruit those employers because they have to have the capacity to have some youth on, and they have to have some supervision because the young people, again, it might be their first time showing up for work, so they need to kind of get pointed in the right direction. We can give them foundation skills, but each job, just like each job here at the television station, is a little different. Your job is different than the cameraman's. You may have a bit of an understanding of what they're doing, but to really get into it, you need somebody to point you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have more with you coming up after this break because there's plenty more to talk about with the E3 program. So stay with us. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Welcome back to Racine. We are talking about the E3 program in Racine County. Now, if you haven't heard of it, it stands for Employ, Enrich, and Engage. Mark Mundell joins me this morning, program director, and talking a little bit about some of the skills that these students learn. You'd mentioned a few. You have healthcare, you have city services that these kids can work in. But what are some of the skills that they actually take away with being with these employers for the summer?
Well, some of our technical skills, at one of our manufacturing locations, we're moving from, well, everything's moving digital these days, but this company's been in town for 80 plus years, and they have a whole bunch of blueprints, and they're trying to digitize them. So one of the workers was moving those blueprints from old paper, vellum type things into a digital archive, and that was part of the technical skills. There are communication skills that are so important. We understand that this generation is a generation that communicates very much through texting, and the communication to talk to an individual or answer the phone for us old school folks that are still picking up the phone and talking. Those are skills that some young people have yet to develop, and I think it's very challenging for, you see young people talking amongst themselves very easily, but if you put them in front of a stranger, that's a new experience, and we have to have them prepared to be able to interact with different people from different communities within the Racine community and be comfortable doing that.
And how have you seen some students grow who come in the first day and then leave the last day in regards to that and being comfortable around people?
I think I'm going to go right to the results on this. 24 of our young people were asked by their employer to continue with their employment assignment.
Wow.
So it's almost 25% of the young people that completed this program were offered jobs in the private sector. And if we look at the number of jobs that were in the public and nonprofit sector, those are companies that the government now is not adding jobs. So if you were assigned to a government work site this summer, you had zero chance of getting an offer at the end of the summer. But those young people that stepped up, that demonstrated their customer service skills, demonstrated that they could be on time, could be a reliable employee, could take initiatives, got job offers, and it was phenomenal.
And how do the employers interact with these students? Do they enjoy having them on board for the summer?
Yes, especially when they're good employees. I think when you have good employees, it's a pleasure to come to work. It's exciting. You're getting stuff done. If you have bad employees, that's not such a good experience. And when we had bad employees, we eliminated them. And that's how we keep the employers participating and buying into that this is a valuable thing, because we're holding them accountable, the young people accountable for their actions, but we're also giving them an opportunity to learn, because it's the first time out of the block for many of them, and they may not get it quite right, but if they do take corrective actions and do positive things, they're going to stay on.
And the age group that you're targeting, 16 to 24, it can be very daunting at that age, thinking what's next, especially for those that may be graduating from high school, maybe not thinking that college is necessarily the right thing. So how can your program kind of help them out?
Well, we give them the foundation skills about looking for work and keeping that job. We also provide them the opportunity to do some career exploration. And at the end of the program, each of the young person walked across the stage, it's called the graduation ceremony, announced their name to the guests in the audience, told us what their career goal was, and I can say that I am very glad we have these young people following us, because I am comfortable there is a future workforce in Racine County. There are people that are willing to go serve our country in the military, and there are people that are going to be doctors, and there are people that want to work in a factory. And that is very heartening to me.
And how great that you're kind of part of the stepping stones to that for a lot of these young people.
Oh, it's been quite an honor and a lot of fun, a lot of energy.
And tell me about another new requirement for this year, the volunteering.
Our county executive, James Ladwig, said that there's more to living in a community than just getting from the community. He said we need to get 8 hours of community service. And we, during the 5-day orientation period, we talked about community service because nationwide, only 25% of the population volunteers.
Oh, really?
In Wisconsin, we're a little higher. We're almost at, I think, 36%. So
Okay.
we have a volunteering state, but we want to introduce the idea of community service to the young people, and they were required to do community service, and they provided community service at 56 different locations. Now, there's some kind of humorous things in this. One of the activities we have in Racine County is the annual Lighthouse Run, and we needed volunteers. So we were announcing, you can volunteer at the Lighthouse Run, and the young people go, well, how far do I have to run?
That would be the easy part, right?
Well, it depends.
On how good of a runner you are.
And so no running involved, you just have to volunteer and you help with the people that are running and give them water and things like that. And they say, oh, okay, we'll do that. So there's some
great.
really interesting volunteer opportunities.
Sounds like you're really trying to shape them as a whole, as an individual, with the volunteering, and also as far as getting them a job and kind of getting that first foot in the door. And speaking of volunteering, we're going to take a quick break, and we have the director of the Volunteer Center for Racine County, who was actually one of the employers. We'll talk to him as well as one of his new employees. Stay with us. And welcome back to Racine and Me. We're talking about the E3 Summer Employment Program for youth in Racine County. And Al Volmet, one of the folks who is one of the employers, you are the director of the Volunteer Center of Racine County. So tell me how many students you took on.
We had 3, and 3 diverse kids. One, a junior at La Crosse, another one, Latoya is going to Gateway, and a high school student at Park High School. So
oh, you did have kind of the whole spectrum.
Different ages with different backgrounds, and it was very interesting. The high school kid wants to be a lawyer.
Okay.
Latoya wants to get into cosmetology, and then our La Crosse student wants to be a history teacher. So the varied backgrounds.
And how does this all kind of fit in with the Volunteer Center?
Well, it was our Volunteer Center basically gave them an opportunity to do some marketing. We had a booth at the Racine County Fair. They designed the booth. They've designed some marketing materials for us. They've done some survey work for us, for our members. They've experienced our youth summer program where they would work out in the urban gardens in Racine and work with some senior citizens and so forth, and we tried to rotate all 3 to get different aspects of our youth program. Also, we do emergency management volunteer training. They were part of that. So they really hit every facet of what we do, and we expose them to everything that we do in the community.
And Latoya, tell me about your experience. What was it like? What was your favorite part?
My favorite part was, I don't know, I liked it all. I'm a people person, and I like working with people, so I enjoyed that a lot, and I like the different experiences that I got out of it. And because of the E3 program, I know that I can do way more than I thought that I could do, which is always a great thing. And through that, I've won my NCRC certificate, and I won a scholarship through the Reality Check Day thanks to the E3 program.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So what are some of the different experiences kind of that stick out in your mind from the summer?
The marketing. I love the marketing, making calls and just getting people involved with the community as well as myself. So I enjoy that a lot.
So you want to go into cosmetology?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you think that there are what kind of skills do you think are transferable that you learned this summer into that career field that you're looking at?
People skills. And working with people of diverse backgrounds, that always helps. And I want to someday own my own business as well. So that's definitely giving me the stepping stones to be a leader as well as knowing when to follow in order to grow.
So tell me about the feeling the first day as you showed up there. What was kind of going through your head?
I was a little nervous, but then I was excited because I was one of the select few that got it. So I was really excited, but just a little nervous. I will say that. But it went well. I knew that I can do it, and they definitely motivated me and just told me that I can do it and I can be whatever I want to be, and that motivated me a lot.
That's fantastic. What was it like working with
Well,
LaToya?
LaToya's personality really shone at the Racine County Fair.
Oh, yeah?
She's
laughing.
She got aggressive, and when people would come past our booth, she would say, "Would you like to volunteer in the Racine community?" And if they were kind of ambivalent and said no, she'd go, "Well, why not?" You know,
That's always a good question.
Exactly. So her personality fits, I think, her profession, where part of it is working with the customer and so forth. And but she definitely had a bubbly personality that we took advantage of. A great representative of the Volunteer Center.
And what all do you get out as an employer, having these students on for the summer? Is it just kind of filling an extra spot?
Somewhat, and yet, you know, really, I looked at it, it's really for them to develop a resume. Mm-hmm. You know, when they get out to the work world, the competition's fierce, and anything they could put on a resume to differentiate themselves from the rest of the job candidates, I think. So I had them do journals every week of the tasks they perform, so when they're done, when the year is over, the summer's over, they had a document that they could then transfer to a resume for their job hunt eventually.
And I would assume that maybe you helped with some of the volunteer things that they had to do since they had the volunteer requirements?
Yeah, you know, it's ironic that we're a volunteer center, so a lot of that was taken care of. But one of the things I really appreciate with Ladwig in Racine County was that mandate for volunteerism in the community, to know that whatever community you're in, you're to give back to the community. Absolutely. From which you receive a wage, and that was a nice aspect of the E3 program.
And I find it hard to believe, as Mark was saying here, that only 25% of the nation volunteers.
Yeah.
What are you doing to try to instill that in young folks and make them, you know, recognize that this is something that's important to
Yeah.
do?
Well, we were involved in community events like the Crop Walk coming up in October. We're involved with senior citizens, and just our major customers are senior citizens and youth. And try to instill really in the youth that it's part of their life, it's what they do, it's what's expected of them after their work is done, when they retire, to again give back to the community as well.
And LaToya, what do you plan on doing to try to keep giving back?
Keep volunteering. At the moment right now, I volunteer for my church every Tuesday, teaching 2 to 5-year-olds.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I like volunteering. Most of my volunteer work goes undocumented because it's not really something that I want to do for everyone to see, but out of the goodness of my heart that I want to volunteer. And I do plan to come back to the Volunteer Center at Racine County. I definitely have to come back.
Oh, that's
I
good.
enjoyed my time.
And let me ask you, how did you first get hooked up with E3? How did you find out about it?
Actually, the best marketing is by word of mouth, and that's how I found out about the E3 program. And then I filled out the application. I went through the interviewing process just as a regular job, and I got it.
What was the first week that was basically about just different types of job skills? What was that like? Tell me some things you took away from that.
I took away the 5 A's, like Mr. Mondo talked about accountability, adaptability, all those things, and really applied it and to see if I fit what they need, and I did. And if I didn't, I was definitely going to make it work, because this is something that I really wanted, and I went for it.
Did you have many friends that got involved in the program?
Yes.
Yeah.
We all, that's the thing, we all came together like a piece of the puzzle. Everyone came together and we did a great job. And we earned a couple of pizza parties out of that too, for our attendance, for being a good worker.
That's fantastic. And speaking of attendance, you had said that the first day was kind of interesting for you guys.
We were one of the companies where the training that they were given prior to, every Monday they would do training away from the work site.
Okay.
And I'd see the 3 kids out in front of our doors. We open at 8,
Okay.
7:30. I'm going, oh, that's interesting. What a work ethic. But they were trained. The expectations were there of the employer. So I had to make sure, as Mark was saying, that I got there on time to be a good role model. But it was really impressive with the training part of it too, coming into the work ethic and all that.
You felt they were pretty prepared?
No question about it. And it makes you feel good too about the youth of this generation, the accountability that they have, and you know, oftentimes the youth gets bad-mouthed at some point, but I've got 3 witnesses of we're in good shape in the workforce with these 3 kids.
Now, were you able to keep any of them on?
Ironically, we have one that came back to volunteer. It's the high school student. LaToya mentioned she'll be coming back. Most of our workforce are volunteers. That's the nature of the volunteer center. So I wish I had a position that I could actually pay them. But hopefully they're getting paid back in a different way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you two so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. It's great to hear the success stories of both of you. We're going to take another quick break, but we will be back with more Racine and Me after this. Welcome back to Racine and Me this morning. E3 program just wrapped up in Racine County, but it's such an interesting program. This is something that I assume you are running again next year for the youth.
Well, that's our intention. It's been successful for 3 years, and I think we hit a high point this year, so I want to hand it off and have it continue going forward.
And so when does, when does the application process start?
The application process for the young people will begin next spring. We haven't set the date. I want to move it back a little earlier so that the young people know coming into the summer month that they're working or where they're employed, as opposed to waiting till May and June. So we're going to sit down and debrief and analyze what we did this year and make a better model going forward.
And when does it typically start?
The work usually starts in June, and the kind of the recruitment and the interviewing process has gone on in May, and I'd like to spread that out a little bit. It was kind of hectic.
Oh, I'm sure, and I'm sure that's probably an intensive time for you, but a good intensive time, right?
Very exciting, very exciting.
Now tell me, the students that participate, they are actually compensated with money for this?
Right, they make the minimum wage for the 20 hours a week that they're working or in training, but that money doesn't just appear out of the clouds. It comes from the Racine County, the Workforce Development Center, the City of Racine, the SC Johnson Company stepped up this year and contributed. Educators Credit Union has put in money in support. The Burlington Area School District, the Racine Unified School District. Those are the partners that have put cash in. UW Extension, UW Parkside have participated and done some in-kind contributions. So we have a partnership of many organizations that make this possible, and without any of them, we couldn't make it happen.
It sounds like you've made a good name for yourself in the community with this program, so people probably want to jump on board and help.
I think the kids have made a good name for us. I had the easy part to provide some leadership. They did the work.
And kind of go over again some of the criteria for students or parents that might be watching us this morning who might want to get involved in this next year.
Well, the criteria are really pretty simple. You have to be between the ages of 16 and 24, and you have to live in Racine County.
And that's it?
That's it.
Okay, so through the application process, once they submit an application, is there an interview after that?
The interview process is something that everyone should get experience with, and so every young person that turns in an application, we interview. We give them the interview.
All 500
All
you did?
500.
Wow.
And that was a big undertaking, and we had volunteers, business leaders come in that are in the HR professions and other business leaders, and they helped us interview all 500 of those young people, and then we selected the 120-some finalists and moved forward from there.
Well, that's wonderful. So if anything, at least these students, if they didn't get picked this year, at least they got that interview under their belt, because that's always difficult, kind of doing that first thing.
Sure, very, very true.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming in this morning. We appreciate it, and it's been great learning about the E3 program. Best of luck to you next year as you kind of continue this.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
And if you want some more information on this, you can head off to your website. What is the best place to find that?
wdc.racineco.com.
Perfect. Well, Mark, thank you so much. It was great meeting you. Best of luck. And we'll be back with more Racine and Me next Sunday. Have a great weekend.